etc. If it's one or the other, if you had to choose.
All right, where's
I think the end game is the playoffs. Do you have the full cut?
I think the end goal is the playoffs. Like, this team believes we've brought enough good players in here to where we should be playing postseason baseball. And I think they also rightly believe that with Webb, with Hicks, with Snell, with Harrison, like, you get us into the postseason, I think that's the Giants mentality. We can go toe-to-toe with anybody. So I still think, until it really looks like it's unlikely, and what are they, one game out of a playoff spot right now?
Yep, one game.
You know, the expanded postseason, the weirdness of the league has all helped to keep the Giants right in the mix. The priority is going to be finding a way to get there. And so if that means the young guys aren't performing and some of the veteran players get more extra playing time, I think that's what's going to happen, because I do believe this team feels like not just it can, but should be a playoff team.
So the end goal is playoffs. The end goal is playoffs. So whether the youngsters lead you there, and he also mentioned later in the interview that Conforto will have a role with this team.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be less playing time for somebody out there. But I don't think it's going to be Matos, but Ramos and Yaz, it's be on high alert. Soler, be on high alert.
Do you like Conforto in right field?
Not at Oracle Park.
No, me neither. Like that, because he got hurt in right field last year. You know, it's a bigger area to cover.
So we're talking about left field then.
So we're talking about, yes, exactly.
So maybe can Ramos play right? No.
I don't think he's a right fielder.
So?
I think he's fine in left field for us now. I think he's a better defender than Conforto just because of the legs. I think he has a stronger arm.
So that's from Fleming. And I preface the question by saying, I know you're not speaking for the organization,
exactly,
but give us some insight on what they're thinking.
What'd you think of my question to him regarding Soler getting some less DH time and Conforto going there?
It's about time. You're not hitting. You're not playing. I don't care how much money you're getting paid. You need to send a message to Jorge Soler. You're not just going to come here and cash checks and strike out and whiff. I've seen some terrible at-bats from him over the last week. Oh, my God. This
agree.
Guy, I don't care how much I'm paying you. You will sit your ass on the bench if you're not hitting. It is what it is, especially if the end goal, what Fleming just said, is playoffs. So Giants fans, 888-957-9570. What do we think about that? The end goal, no matter what, no matter how it happens, the end goal is playoffs.
So Nick Ahmed comes back. I mean, from the way he's saying it, my interpretation, and I could be wrong here, you tell me if I missed the mark. Luciano and Ramos, forget Matos for a second, because center field feels open.
Yeah, he's going to play.
I think he's going to play. But Luciano in particular short and Ramos in left field. It's you better perform above what the other guys are doing, or we're going to go back to the other guys.
Exactly.
And it's weird to me because Nick Ahmed really has no pedigree in the organization.
But veterans get a lot of respect in dugouts, in clubhouses. And Bob Melvin is a vet type of manager, right?
Yeah.
He prefers managers. They prefer veterans. They want go with guys who have a track record of doing it, maybe not at a high level, but have done it. Nick Ahmed has had a good glove for many, many years. Hasn't he won a gold glove?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
But he also ran out of Arizona.
He's got a few of them.
Yeah, he's got a few of them. He's a very good defender. So, look, I didn't think Ahmed was going to start the season at shortstop. He did. He took the job because nobody else took the job. He got it, and he played well early on. And he's coming back. And when you make a mistake like Luciano did in the ninth inning, it's not on him. I'm not blaming him. But when you make a mistake like that, keep the door open for Nick Ahmed to take playing time away from you. So the end goal, as the Giants sit here 23 and 26, this is from Dave Fleming. And you know Dave Fleming don't sugarcoat anything on this show. He doesn't. He may not rip the organization, but he's told us some things here that's like, wow.
And they come to fruition. Wow. Flip said that 5 weeks ago. Look what happened. Well, the end goal is, for the organization, is playoffs. Would you agree with me that Conforto is one, like, I'll nod my head on Conforto. Okay, I hear you. I don't agree, but I hear you. Slater feels like, you got to be kidding me. Like, if Slater comes back and they put Ramos and Matos down in AAA, that's where I might draw the line.
Enough with Slater.
Yeah, that's
DFA. Just move on.
So let me get to Wilmer. I believe Wilmer's been a really good Giant the last couple of years. I have a hard time believing that they're going to have some DH platooning of Soler and Conforto, and Wilmer's just not going to play.
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? Because, like, so here's what I'm thinking, B.
Sounds like the Giants are chasing wins.
I know, because
it sounds like the Giants are chasing wins. So what we're arguing about here is they're going to chase wins.
But I would keep Luciano on the roster and Ramos on the roster and utilize the DH role for Conforto and open up first base. Because you're going to have Wade playing there a lot of the times, but like have that DH role be platooned and allow one or two of the youngsters to stay on this team.
It's time to treat Jorge Soler like Darren Ruff and you lefty, righty, righty, lefty. We go matchups. Platoon DH, I got no problem with that. He's not hitting anything. Lubman, get in here. I know you have something to say.
Yeah, no, I mean, Fleming's saying that playoffs are the end goal. I've kind of been on that since the start of the year. I think with this team, like, yeah, playoffs should absolutely be the goal, and they should absolutely get there. That's why I've said it's playoffs or bust for Farhan
So wait a
Zaidi.
minute.
Like,
if it's playoffs or bust, what the hell have we been arguing about the last hour?
well, no, if they don't make the playoffs, I don't. If they make the playoffs, however they get there, that's great. If they don't make the playoffs, however they get there, I think that's going to be on Farhan Zaidi. Like, it's year 6. This is a team that is good enough, whether you're playing these young guys or you're playing some of these veterans, you should be able to compete for a playoff spot.
So this is what I'm gathering from the end goal being the playoffs. All right? This is what I'm gathering now. If the end goal is the playoffs for the San Francisco Giants, to me that screams they're not going to be that patient with the youngsters. They just want to win. So if the youngsters don't perform, well, guess what? Back to Sacramento, you go. Go get your 916 area code phone, son. Like, get used to Raleigh Field again, or whatever they call it up there, Center Health Park.
But Slater's been, like, for example.
No, Slater's out. Slater,
okay.
Slater.
And Nick
Don't even
Ahmed's
bring
been
him up
struggling.
anymore. Slater's done.
And Nick Ahmed's been struggling. Like, he lost. It did not catch headlines. He lost us a game earlier this year with a booted ball, right?
Oh, I know.
So, like, and we didn't even talk about it because you know why? Because Nick Ahmed doesn't resonate. But, like, I don't know, man. The tolerance level for the youngsters, just in general, drives me crazy. We don't give them enough credit because they do all these great things. You sweep the Rockies, and it's a large part of the young guys.
Well, and I think about Jonathan Kuminga in this sense. Kuminga helped save back-to-back seasons. Wiggins went away for 2 months. Kuminga played his ass off and helped stabilize the season. And when Wiggins got back, it was to the mid-shoe go, Kuminga, we're not going to have a lot of patience with you. And a lot of people started finger pointing. This past year, we saw what Kuminga did, and as soon as he got hurt, you started hearing the murmurs. Oh, well, what are you doing with Kuminga? I don't think he fits. Maybe we go use him as a trade piece. Blah, 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 blah. I hate the rhetoric around the youngsters. Well, I can't stand it. We did it with Wiseman. We did it with Poole. We did it with Kuminga. We do it with Moody. We do it with Podziemski. We do it with TJD. We do it with Luciano. We do it with Matos. We don't have a lot of patience as a fan base. Not all of us, because I want to see the youngsters. But we don't have a lot of tellers for youngsters for whatever reason. Youngsters get the heat of everything.
Well, and here's my pushback on the dugout. You don't understand the dynamics of the dugout. Matt Chapman played for the Oakland A's. It was a revolving door of players everywhere. He played for the Blue Jays, which had young players all across the board who are making mistakes. Like Bo Bichette, for example, has been so up and down, so up and down. And then Matt Williams is the poster child for going up and down a zillion times in his career and said, I just wanted someone to wrap my arms around me. And if you look at his managerial track record, he was forced to play a young Trey Turner and a young Bryce Harper when he was the Washington manager, and you have to kind of ride it out. So I push back on the dugout. That's, for the Yankees, for when you have Stanton and Judge and a bunch of all-star guys. For the Astros, not for this Giants team. What?
I just remember the road trip the Warriors went on 2 seasons ago when they went 0-5 on that road trip, and they lost in Charlotte, Detroit, Orlando, Miami, and New Orleans. And the youngsters got the brunt of the blame. And I'm like, wait a minute here. When they played the Miami Heat that 2 years ago, they lost to South Beach, Miami. They scored 2 points in the last 5 minutes. And it was Wiggins, Draymond, Curry, Clay, and Jordan Poole on the court. The youngsters didn't lose that. Orlando, they had a 20-point lead or something like that. And the youngsters, they let the lead kind of fritter away, but the veterans were playing in the fourth quarter. So I don't know why we put so much heat on the youngsters. However, what Fleming says, the playoffs are the end goal.
Yeah.
And you got to get to the playoffs. And I think personally, if the Giants don't make the playoffs, Farhan's gone. That's just my opinion.
That's simple.
I think it's that simple. I don't think the youngsters can save his job by playing well and popping and not making the playoffs. I don't think that saves Farhan's job.
I agree with you, Bonte.
I don't think it saves
So they
his
lose
job.
out. The youngsters come up here and they lose out by a couple of games the final weekend of the year, and the youngsters are tearing they're all batting around
You know
300.
why? Because it's a lot of people are going to say, and maybe in that organization they're going to say, "Well, what took you so long? It took you to play Luciano, Matos, and Ramos, injuries to Jungkook Lee,
I hear what you're saying.
Conforto,
Yeah.
Nick Ahmed, Austin Slater. It took you injuries to play these guys. Where was this out of spring training? Why weren't they up in Petco Park playing in San Diego? Same problem I had last year when they opened the season at Yankee Stadium. And Casey Smith had the best spring training, and he's down in Sacramento to start the season. And we're going crazy over Matt Beattie and whoever the hell they started at Yankee Stadium. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
that's the argument.
But
you didn't play the youngsters. The only reason why we're seeing the youngsters is because the veterans got hurt.
But here's the thing, like I will not wrap my head around this. I don't think ownership is like, if you make the playoffs, you're back. If you don't make the playoffs, you're gone. I believe it to be way more layered than that.
Some fans don't see the playoffs as a step in the right direction. You're playing big boy ball and getting experience under the bright lights. You're getting experience in October. You're getting experience. You're getting a taste. And who the hell knows what could happen in the playoffs when you got Logan Webb, Blake Snell, Kyle Harrison, you may get Robbie Ray.
Blake Snell has more runs that he's given up than innings pitched.
Yeah, but we
this
know
year.
the track record with Blake Snell.
I know,
he's
but my
a Cy
point
Young
being is
Award
this
winner.
goes back to the veterans. If Blake Snell signed on time, showed up ready to roll, maybe pitched in a minor league game before he got hurt, like they'd be a couple games better than where they're at now. Like we can argue to Kyle Harrison's been a better pitcher this year than Blake Snell's.
We can nitpick all that stuff. But when you get to the playoffs and you got Blake Snell and Logan Webb in your top two, do you want to face those big boys in a series?
But part of why, like when it comes down to it, if they miss out by a couple games, it's not going to be because Matos and Ramos. I'm going to look back at the first month and a half of Blake Snell not pitching and not pitching well.
That's going to be one avenue.
There's many.
Going to be one. There's many layers to this. But some people might say, well, you waited too long to play the youngsters. What if this guy Matos starts to cut? By the way, you're listening to 95.7 The Game. I'm locked in right now. Let's go, baby.
You're in.
No, we could. This is just unbelievable. You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM in HD1 San Francisco, and Odyssey Sports Station, always live on the free Odyssey app. Don't forget that you can also watch us every single day on our YouTube, Twitter streams. Powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Upgrade your savings dividend. Open a First NorCal First Class Money Market today. And this is why I agree with Flip. On the whole end goal with the playoffs. Because, we could play the youngsters, right? Let's say we play the youngsters. And you start falling out the race and August comes around. Well, you know where the fans are going to start to shift to? Guess what's happening down in Santa Clara? Training camp, Nick Bosa, Brock Purdy, football season. And in the month of September, the Giants can ill afford to have people tune out this season. They need fans to be locked in on the Giants in the month of September. They need butts in the seats in the month of September. You do not want to get to September, be out of the playoff race, and say, hey, the youngsters are playing well. That ain't going to sell it in this market. That ain't working, Shasky. You know it. It's not working out here. And so the bottom line is going to get hurt. You're not going to make the playoffs, and guys are going to be out of jobs.
We're acting like all 8 positions of the everyday players are going to be young guys. Like, I watched this organization with a bunch of journeymen and now Buster's a phenom. Okay, he's one of the greatest players in Giants history. They won a World Series. Then I watched a different version of that team with a more seasoned Buster Posey bring up basically first full season Brandon Belt, first full season Brandon Crawford, and they couldn't hit a lick, okay? And those guys were a key part of a championship team. Then I watched them do the exact same thing with Joe Panic. Like, we act like a couple of young players can't insert themselves into a winning situation and help contribute. I think the young guys, even in a loss, did way more good than bad.
No, I agree. But when you hear Flip say the end goal is playoffs, well, everything's on the table now. I want to say for the 100th time today on the show, I'm all for playing the youngsters. I've been begging to see the youngsters. I was asking why Luciano, last year, we were at training camp last year where Luciano came up against the Yankees, and I say, why the hell is he batting ninth? This is my top prospect. Get his ass in the 3-hole. Get him in the 2-hole. Let's go. He's my top prospect. Same thing with Matos. I want to see the youngsters. I love seeing the youngsters play. But I also understand the business of the Giants. And I understand where this franchise is at right now. And I understand where this market is at right now. The expectations in this market. We're no longer, hey, let's be competitive and have fun. No. The Bay Area sports fan right now, we believe we are New York City. We believe we're Chicago. We believe we're LA. We're a big boy market. But we're trying to get this team to operate like that.
I know.
And when you spend over $200 million, The playoffs is the least we want. In an expanded field with the wild card, you're telling me people don't want to see the playoffs? They'd rather lose with the youngsters and see them develop? No. We want playoffs.
Honestly, no one cares how much they spend. That's the one thing. No one cares how much they spend.
Sure about that? Because we always talk about it.
I'm telling you.
We always talk about everybody's payroll and pocket watching. Like we're always pocket watching.
We have to be realistic. This isn't their window. In the same way I watched other teams in the West.
Not a championship window, sorry, Chasky, but to get to the playoffs, we need to see improvement.
Ponte, if you make those decisions, you will never give yourself the opportunity to give the runway for the young players to prove whether they belong or not. Like Minnesota knew when the Warriors were at top, man, we better allow this kid, Anthony Edwards, to play. Now, he's Anthony Edwards now, but like they have to allow that guy to play. OKC did the exact same thing. I'm not saying you're tanking to that degree. What I'm saying is that it's the Dodgers and the Phillies and the Braves this time. It's okay to admit that out loud. Doesn't mean you can't. I'm not saying lay down. No one's saying stop the season.
And I'm not talking championship.
What?
And I'm not talking championship.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is that I'm not playing Nick Ahmed at the expense of seeing if Luciano can grow. Okay. I'm not playing, and I know they're going to play Conforto, and I guess I'll have to accept it, but I would rather see if Ramos is a player. I can't have him be a 25-year-old going into a full year of arbitration and not know what he is.
I hear you. Listen, Uncle Looney, he asking me right now, did you think playoffs to start the season? I said before the year, I'm open-minded, and I think this team has the capabilities of making the playoffs and getting to the playoffs in a short series with this pitching staff where you could do some damage. Now, the bats are going to have to come around. There's no doubt. But can stay in the race for some of these other players to be available. We'll pick it up on the other side. Andrew Filipponi, Pittsburgh, KDKA in Pittsburgh. He's going to talk about the impact of the youngsters in Pittsburgh. We'll ask him some football questions. Get back to the Giants. We got some NBA. We got OTAs. We haven't even done that yet. But you heard Flimmy, Giants fans. You heard him. The end goal